Hey everyone, welcome back to Citywide Blackout, your home for music, movies, and more. I'm your host, Max Bowen. In this episode, we're talking about one of my favorite things, comics, specifically the Lost on Planet Earth series, available only on ComiXology Originals. Writer Magdalene Visaggio and artist Claudia Aguirre talk about the story of Basil, a young woman living in the year 2381. Her only goal in life is to become a captain of the Interplanetary Fleet, but will they actually make her happy? It's one of the many elements of this really brilliant story. We talk all about how it came together and the team behind it. We're talking about what has become my new favorite comic, Lost on Planet Earth. I'm now talking to writer Magdalene Visaggio, artist Claudia Aguirre. Welcome to the show. It's awesome to talk to you. I am very happy about this because I love this series. I am so psyched for the next issue. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I want to start with just where the story for this came from. So to give people a bit of background, this focuses on Basil, who is living in the far-flung future of 2381, and whose dream is to become a captain in the Interplanetary Fleet. And then it all goes south. She has her big exam day, and she kind of freaks out because she realizes, I don't want to do this anymore. The things she's working for her entire life, no longer wants to do, and she bails. That's more or less issue 1 in a nutshell.
It's a little complicated. There's a lot going into it that I didn't even entirely realize was going into it at the time. The whole thing started with, so I'm a gigantic Trekkie, if you couldn't tell from the book.
No.
It is just me trying to play a little bit in the Star Trek world. I used to get really bothered by how much Starfleet just dominates Federation society, and how all anybody wants is to just put on the uniform and get on a ship and take orders. And really, in particular, I was thinking a lot about Wesley Crusher and how he's supposed to be like the Mozart of mathematics and physics, and he just is like, yeah, I'm the navigator. And it just didn't really make any sense to me. The way that's all anybody wanted to do. If you can hear that outside, that's another part of living in New York. It's the 7 o'clock clap. We do it all through the city.
Oh, cool.
It's a way to both thank healthcare workers,
sure,
because that's a shift change, and to kind of acknowledge each other. Everybody's hanging out their windows and just clapping and waving at each other, and cars go around. But yeah, so I guess I just kind of wanted to examine that reality and to kind of look at the weird militarization of the future that we see, and that's never really acknowledged. And I get that it's not something that's done deliberately. I also take very seriously the idea that the Federation is kind of full of shit. And I love Star Trek, but the Federation is a reflection of the United States in the 1960s, and it's very structured. And that means that it's quietly imperialistic, it's quietly assimilationist, and it doesn't acknowledge those things about itself. We see that brought up in the show a few times. You see in DS9, Garrick and Quark at one point have a whole conversation about how insidious Federation society is, that at least the Borg tell you what they're doing, but the Federation doesn't. You see it in Discovery when T'Kuvma, in the very first monologue of the show, is their words of conquest are, we come in peace. They want to destroy our culture. They want us to stop being Klingon. And the thing is that's true. The Federation does have this broad vision of what the galaxy will look like in the future. And everything's the Federation. And if you're going to join the Federation, that means you have to meet certain moral criteria for the kind of people that they want in the Federation. And that's broadly mid-20th century American value. So the book kind of started there with those ideas. And I wrote several versions of this book where it just kind of became a set piece for me to move Basil from location to location so people could monologue at her. And I was like, oh, this isn't really an interesting story. It's not really a story. We've got a really interesting jumping off point, though. So backtracked, and I ended up doing this book about the process, the emotional process of realizing that you're not going to live the life you set for yourself, and that the standards and values of the institution that you're in don't align with yours. And so in a lot of ways, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was just rereading the final issue, which we just wrapped. And I kind of like tend to, every time I finish an issue, I'll read the whole thing just so I can see how everything's fitting together, and then that gives me time to make dialogue changes if I need to. And I was like, oh God, this isn't the story of my history with Catholicism in seminary, my process of leaving and the sort of aimlessness I felt, and then the ongoing process of trying to find my peace when the thing that I used to define the meaning in my life was no longer present. That's the emotional territory that we're navigating.
Just from like the first issue, I can tell that this is a very, very emotional story. Like it's set in the future where there's no alien invasion, there's no war going on. In fact, this is more like a slice of life kind of story. From what I see,
that was the original idea. It didn't end up going exactly in the slice of life direction.
Yeah,
we ended up really landing on a very strong thematic direction that I didn't really see coming when I was pitching the book and developing the book, regarding Basil's relationship with her best friend Charlotte, and how her decision kind of impacts that. That's sort of the core of the book.
Oh, okay. All right. What about the world building? You know, like you said, there are definitely reflections of like Star Trek in this series, especially in the art, which, oh my God, Claudia, geez, God, amazing artwork. I was just blown away by this thing, especially the cover. I thought that just really like summed up the story, because what was the world building process like for the series?
I don't really do world building.
Okay.
I just so I have a long history of getting really way too caught up on things that don't matter. And so I kind of had to wean myself out of, I need to know literally everything about society in order to make this story. So I just kind of built the story around a few basic assumptions. There's the kind of genial fascism of Star Trek. I threw in a little bit of Starship Troopers, in that the vote comes with service. It's the only way to become a citizen, is to do your time in the fleet. Sort of the expectation that everybody does their time in one of the services. Worked out just kind of generally that the Star Union is this very broad federation of species, and so there'd be a lot of aliens popping up, but it would still be a very human story in the sense of being centered on Earth and with human characters. The Star Union is just the Federation without the mask. I took pains to kind of paint the Star Union as fairly reactionary, but not in a way that we would necessarily really recognize. Like, it's not a dystopia. It's not Nazi Germany. It's great for most people. But if you're not one of those people, it's not great. It's a pretty queer-phobic future. And so there's repeated elements of like people saying that basically like you don't get ahead if you don't pretend. I mean, aside from that, I was just kind of drawing parallels where I could from Star Trek. There's a Captain Kirk analog who's more overtly skeevy. At one point, since it's set in Richmond, which is my hometown, Richmond, Virginia, I decided a really interesting way to really subtly highlight the reactionary elements is that we show the Robert E. Lee statue is still standing. Mm-hmm. When actually right now there's a big movement in Richmond specifically. Richmond is in the process of examining the presence of all of its Confederate statuary. And I don't know if the Lee statue's ever going to come down, but I think some of the others might. We have very long memories in the South.
That was something that actually caught me, because like usually in these future Earths, we don't have a lot of like the countries or the cities that we have now. They're gone now. There's some, wiped out and like some kind of attack or something happened. So the fact there is still a Richmond, Virginia, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, there's still a San Francisco.
That's true, yeah. That's true. But like in some cases, there's like a new San Francisco or a new Virginia or a new something like that, because something happens that the old one just ain't there no more.
Yeah, but I mean that's way more backstory than the story needs.
Exactly.
I think sort of big picture of the history that we do give you is that everybody just kind of accepted the necessity of service to this larger human community, because the alternative was all of human history before then. The alternative was just endless war. In order to do that, it had to like set a standard for, well, this is what life is going to be. Mm-hmm. This is what the rules are. And everybody has their time in service to the larger state. But that's really kind of all the world building that went into it. Otherwise, I get so bogged down. I get so caught up in all the unnecessary details and making sure every hole is plugged that I find it impossible to write.
I get you.
I just kind of stop worrying about it. It's not going to be important to the reader. It's not important to me.
What Basil goes through, where again she's been like working her whole life towards joining the fleet, and then realizes, wait, do I actually want this? I'm curious if this is reflected in your own lives. If you had that moment where you were working towards something and then realized, wait a minute, I don't actually want to do this anymore. I want to do something else entirely. I kind of figured.
Well,
I was
in seminary to be a Catholic priest. That did not go well.
Wow, the way
I think should be obvious reasons at this point.
Yeah.
But instead, after I left seminary, I just got married, and that didn't go well. I basically had to go through my own process of basically being able to ask myself, what do I really want? And maybe I can just do that instead of trying to live up to what I think I'm supposed to be.
And Claudia, same question. Have you ever had like a Basil moment in your life?
Oh, yeah, I haven't.
Who hasn't?
Really, yeah.
Yeah, especially on the queer side, like, we all went through this, I should have a boyfriend and I should be doing this and I should be doing what other people do. And at some point, I just cracked and was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. And then I went to a public university and went to graphic design because I really didn't know what to do with my life. So I went to graphic design and I worked in graphic design and I hated it. And at some point, I just quit.
And your design sense is so good.
It isn't. That's the thing. What they needed as a graphic designer, I wasn't that. So I just gave it up. And at some point, everything clicked together. Like, I just really want to tell stories. So I should be trying to do that. So I don't know. I had my fair share of Basil moments.
I generally like to say that getting serious about making comics sort of set the stage for the sort of tidal wave of changes that followed in the few years after I made that decision. Because I got serious about one thing I wanted. I was able to say, well, I have one thing that I want and I can do that. And then it was like, well, once you get serious about that, it's like, what kind of comics do I want to make? And why do I want to make those kinds of comics? And what does that say about the kind of life I want to live? And before you know it, I'm divorced and transitioning.
And that's when we met.
Yeah.
That's when we met, and that's when we both started this journey together, in a sense.
Nice.
It's been amazing. I love you, my comics wife.
I love you.
Claudia, a question for you. Now, you mentioned that you started off with graphic design and then moved into comics. Now, going from like did you have to kind of put yourself back in school, kind of adapt to doing the different medium?
I'm not sure. I just followed the motions, and I was like completely numb to graphic design. I just went to school, did my thing. I didn't really, I don't know, I saw everyone trying to make everything perfect, and I was just like giving out whatever I farted. And then at some point, I started working in design, and then I quit design, and then I started to work in this advertising agency that made animated stuff on the side. And I went there and I was like, oh, this is so much better than design. But do I want to make animation? So the process just went on and on and on. And then I went to another place that made Facebook video games. So you can imagine it was like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Video games.
I remember those.
It was still going strong.
Farmville.
It wasn't like Farmville. It was really worse than that. And then at some point they fired me because they started doing apps, and I wasn't a designer. See where I'm going? I have some background on that, but I wasn't a designer. So they fired me, and I was like, well, I'm going to do this because it's the last thing I have left. I'm doing comics because that's the only thing I have left. So I started Boudica Comics with my best friend, Eva Cabrera. And we did a few comics, small anthologies, and somehow we managed to survive with that. And then we met Max, and that's when we got like extremely serious about this.
It was actually Tess Fowler, who at the time I was just a very big fan of, and I had just kind of reached out to her.
Yeah.
Because I loved her work on Rat Queens, and I was like, that's the right attitude for Kim and Kim.
Uh-huh.
And I reached out to her, and I was like, I would love to talk to you about doing this book. And she goes, well, I'm really swamped with Rat Queens and all this other commission stuff she was doing. And she was like, but you know who you should talk to? And she put me in touch with Claudia and Ava, and the rest is history.
Nice. Yeah, we started doing
the most fruitful creative relationship I've ever had.
I love Rat Queens.
It was so fun. And that was really kind of the manic spirit that I brought over to Kim and Kim. So Rat Queens was extremely influential to me as a writer. I used to study the first issue because I was like, this is such a great first issue. It's really efficient. It wastes no time, and it dumps you right into the action. And that was something I was really struggling with. It was like, how do I not bog everything down in exposition and world building? And Rat Queens was where I kind of learned, oh, you don't have to do that. You can just say, here's the thing, send everyone off running.
That's interesting because, like, most people I talk to, they'll say, oh, we spent, like, like a year, 2 years, 3 years, just like building like the universe that the story takes place in. But your method, I find it works just as well, really. I think it's like just kind of do what works for you.
I just don't see the point. That's just, that's wanking off, Yeah. Like, the canonical example is Tolkien. He built a beautiful world that I love studying, but I do not enjoy those books. I like the Silmarillion because I think that's a really fun artifact out of this world, and I love that the world has that much depth to it that it has something like that. But I don't think the book is much enriched by all of that backstory and all of those appendices, and it just piles on top. You just start to feel like there's so much material you have to master to understand what's going on. So Kim and Kim was like a really important exercise for me in getting away from that. My strategy on writing that was, I'm just going to say yes to every stupid idea I have. And that's why there's robot gorillas and a planet with a hallucinogenic ocean. I was like, I just want this to be just big, crazy, random, it's everything, because it's just everything thrown into a pot and set to boil.
That works. I dig that. Now, was that the first project that the two of you worked on together?
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I want to ask a bit about where Lost on Planet Earth is going. I'm not looking for spoilers. We're kind of a spoiler-free thing, but can you give us some like sort of ideas as to the direction we're going to go?
Well, I cried for 2 days straight.
Aww.
Yes, it's really like that for me.
Oh, jeez.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's a story about finding your peace. Basil is going to go through a lot before she gets there. She's going to find that the world isn't really what she thought it was in ways that I hope surprise the reader, considering how much I talk about, the Federation's full of shit and the genial fascism of it. That's an element of it, but there's more. There's just a degree to which she just is expected to fall into something else. And that isn't necessarily a better choice for her. So she's kind of got to figure that out. Like, what is her piece? And there's the answer. The answer is in the first issue. And I didn't know that until I got to the last issue.
Oh.
Yes. The whole journey. It's amazing. This is one of my favorite projects I've worked in.
Yeah, mine too. I fell in love with this book.
Yeah, I love all the characters in here. Yeah, I love them so much. Velda is just fantastic.
Oh yeah. Do you think that there'll be more after this? Maybe like a second season, second like story arc?
We do have some rough ideas that stem out of what happens in the last issue, so we can't go into detail without there being tons of spoilers.
Yeah. It
would be a different main character, but it would be a direct sequel because there's some very surprising character movements coming up that has fallout. And I really want to spend some more time seeing what it looks like to live in the Federation as an outsider.
Oh.
when you have someone whose story arises out of Basil's story and Basil's experience of being an outsider, the long-term consequences of that.
Question about the art for this comic. Now, was this a big change to the kind of art you did with Kim and Kim?
Well, it's mostly I was the colorist for Kim and Kim,
Okay.
so I really had to adjust a bunch of things that I did with Kim and Kim, which were like really bright and harsh all the time. So if you see all the issues covered in different shades of blue, because that's what's gonna be the visual for this specific project. I really like how it came out. The art is just my usual art, so I tried to make it as beautiful as possible because I really wanted this book to be something I'm really proud of, and it
I
was.
Say you leveled up. You really leveled
love
up.
You.
This looks way better than Morning in America. And Morning in America looked great.
Oh yeah, Morning in America was really good. I think I learned a lot on that one, so I tried to apply that on this one, and also had to shift the mood, especially. It's still bright. It's still really obnoxious at times because that's what the world is supposed to be for Basil. So I tried to make it as obnoxious as possible. All the backgrounds are so glowy and sci-fi-ish, and the background is a completely unrelated character in this whole universe, and that's what I tried to do.
Because everything has come to basically a grinding halt, and we all have a lot more time on our hands all of a sudden. What are the two of you reading right now in terms of comics? What's kind of filling your day?
I'm reading this.
Here's the thing.
I love that series. I absolutely okay.
Good.
Yeah,
check it out.
I'm not reading anything. I am so exhausted all the time because I'm a writer in my day job, and I'm a full-time writer for comics. I'm working on multiple books simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm not working, I'm doing nothing. I'm laying down on my couch with my fiance watching Full House. I'm playing a lot of The Sims. I'm just doing a lot of things that aren't work, that don't require any effort on my part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I am so overwhelmed and burnt out all the time. Honestly, like last weekend, last Thursday, I just kind of broke at work, and I was just like, I was so just run down. I've been running myself. So my job has really actually picked up a lot. I'm in public relations. It's really picked up a lot because clients are getting involved in charitable things, and clients are regearing their production, and there's a lot more to talk about, and press is a lot more willing to talk about this kind of stuff, if for no other reason to talk about literally anything that isn't how many people are dying. You know, there are feel-good stories about people trying to help, and everyone loves that stuff. We just had like two, 3 really hard, heavy weeks, and I just ran out of steam at like 3 p.m. on Thursday. I just needed to take like 4 solid days off. I'm trying to get myself back into the headspace where I'm putting some energy towards reading because I miss it. And it's been a while at this point. Mm-hmm. It's just by the time I lay down in bed, I just zonk right out.
It's understandable.
It at least feels interactive, like it's something that me and my partner can do together, that we engage with together. And so we'll watch terrible movies and make fun of them because that's quality time that we spend together.
Yeah, and watching terrible movies is always fun.
Yeah, I mean, I get my best ideas when I'm getting really high and watching bad movies.
What's your favorite bad movie?
My favorite bad movie?
Yeah.
It really depends what you mean by favorite. So what I'm going to do is say, here's one that I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch again, but I really recommend people watch it. I don't know where you can find it. I found a mirror of it on YouTube that's no longer present. It's called After Last Season, and it is the most perplexing thing I've ever seen in my life. It thinks it's like a capital F film, but it looks like it was made by like high school students for a class assignment. The story doesn't make any sense. There might be an invisible serial killer, but maybe it's all a dream. Or maybe it isn't, and there's like brain technology that's never really, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. And I'm so glad we stuck it out because after we got through the first like 5 minutes of just trying to be like, what the fuck is going on? We just kind of all leaned in, and we're just like, this is mysterious and strange and almost beautiful.
I've got two favorite bad movies. One would be Van Helsing. It's just so bad it's good. But another one is called Mitchell, and it was made back in the 70s, I think.
I'm aware of Mitchell.
I love Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell is a wonderfully bad movie, and it's Joe Don Baker is like a national treasure, and he's been in some of my favorite awful movies.
I always like to go for the movies that are train wrecks. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say my favorite bad movie, in as much as it's one that I am always happy to rewatch, is Deathstalker 2.
I think I've seen that.
This movie seems to know that this is just a ridiculous mess, and they're all just having fun, except for this one actress who thinks this is like her big break. When you look, all of the cast members seem to have porn star names, like Lotta Bush and Dick Manley.
That's definitely a porn name. That cannot be his real name.
One of the original wrestlers from Glow, Queen Kong, shows up and kicks the main character's ass.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this movie. Yeah.
It's magic. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Deathstalker 2.
Go watch Deathstalker 2, people.
Always fun. Megaforce is always fun.
Oh, jeez.
The best hair movies are in the 80s. The best ones.
Oh, yeah. The ones made on, like, a shoestring budget, and it's pretty obvious that no one there has a clue what the hell they're doing.
Honestly, Hands of Fate, always good.
I tried to watch that minus the riffing, and it was hard. I got through, but I was like, wow, this is really unsettling.
No, yeah, it's super unsettling.
Incredibly unsettling.
But it's not good.
No, it's not good in the slightest.
I walked out of a recent viewing of that and walked out, we turned it off and I was still on my couch, with this really clear idea forming in my head for a satanic horror story that we at Death Rattle are all going to be doing together.
Oh,
yep.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I actually did want to also ask about Death Rattle. And if that's not like a band name...
It is a band name.
Oh, it is a band name. Oh, perfect. That works.
That's us. We're Death Rattle.
Oh, okay.
The books that we do with this alignment of people will be under the Death Rattle name.
Gotcha. How did the whole team come together?
We've all just worked together. Joe Corallo edited Volume 3 of Kim and Kim. Claudia obviously was involved. Yeah. Actually, really, everyone is involved in Kim and Kim in one form or another. It's Team Kim minus 2 people.
So you're going to be working together kind of going forward on different projects? Yeah,
that's the hope. Like I said, we're putting together that satanic horror thing. And we're trying to find, like, well, what's the richness of it? What's the social element that it's dealing with? And I think we've got a really good direction for that. I'm a little behind on where I wanted to be in developing it, but I should have some time this weekend. Claudia's already started designs. Yeah, I already just went crazy with it. Yeah, we wanted to get some... engineer in 1960s California. Yeah. Who goes on a road trip with his wife and ends up in this... Or they move to a new town. We haven't figured it all yet, but they end up in this mysterious town controlled by a satanic cult. Gonna be so fun. It's such like a schlock, like almost stock movie premise. I love those movies. And right now our working title is Omen, California. I just love the title. Yeah, I just love it.
I dig it. I dig the concept. That's actually what I really dig about like ComiXology in general, is that I'm finding all kinds of cool titles I never would have found without it. So it's really a wonderful like rabbit hole to just discover all kinds of like new stuff. So like exploring like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that?
I think it's like a ton of really interesting work being done at ComiXology Originals.
Yeah.
We definitely have a level of editorial freedom that the only place I've ever really experienced it before was Black Mask. In terms of just letting us do whatever the hell we want, however the hell we want to do it, but with the difference that there's like an infrastructure supporting it instead of just like one dude.
Now, does what's going on really like impact your ability to get like the issues done?
I try not to let it. Writing is one of the main things that just keeps me going. It's like I have something to focus on. I have a project. And so like right now we've wrapped this. I'm working on 2 graphic novels. I've got ongoing work on a big 2 thing. It's not an ongoing book, but I have an ongoing project with them that has not yet reached its terminal point. Working on trying to pivot into some TV writing. And so there's a lot of like talking with studios right now. It's just a matter of if I don't stay busy, then this is gonna break me. So I don't stop being busy, which is the reason I have no time to read.
Vicious cycle. I get you.
Yeah, I am pushing myself to. I'm running on fumes constantly. It's great.
Jeez.
Yeah, same. I need to have something to do. I have projects I'm trying to get done. I sent a pitch. I've been waiting to hear from the editor. I've been trying to keep busy. We were doing Life on Planet Earth. We finished that, so we already started doing something else.
Because we all want to think about something else.
Yeah, we have to keep going. So we're trying to keep going. I had this project with a friend. I'm just coloring something for him, so I can keep busy while we do something else. Like it's just that, like just continue to have a structure in your day so you don't lose it. I'm trying to do that.
We have an ongoing project of trying to figure out a practical way to revive Kim and Kim.
Yeah.
Which is something we all really want to do. Team Kim misses working on that book. And so we're figuring out some of the logistics and dealing with Black Mask and just trying to find a way to make sure that everything we're doing isn't just keeping us busy, but is sustainable.
Yeah. And
so I'm running a lot of like financial talk. This whole thing happened at the worst time, I mean, for everybody. But for me, like I had just sold a couple of in January I sold 4 books and they're all on hold.
Oh my God.
No, pardon. 3 of them are on hold. One of them is a graphic novel that I have to knock out by the middle of the summer.
Oh geez, yeah. This like
no, it's not too busy. I can get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
For me, this actually happened right around the 1-year anniversary of my like current jobs, and one of them is actually running like a small local newspaper, and we had all these plans for a big like anniversary edition, and then this happened. Like, well, never mind. Just scrap all that.
I had a horror comic. That got picked up at a publisher, and I really love writing horror. And I got through. It was going to be an 80-page graphic novel, and I got through the first chapter, turned it in, and they're like, "Hey, we have to put this on hold."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "But I've got all this momentum now."
Yeah,
but I was going to knock this thing out in a month, like this whole thing, and like we took us a while to get an artist on board, and then to work out the financial arrangement for how we're going to get it, how we're going to keep him, how we're going to afford him, and we worked it all out. And we were ready. I had the most ambitious, exciting project I've probably ever worked on sell. That's on hold. So I'm both in pitch and development mode because all these things I sold are moving and trying to stay really productive. And I am like on the razor's edge, man. Staying away from social media and avoiding the news.
Both very good ideas. I do both, and I find my sanity is much better as a result.
I signed into Twitter yesterday, and I saw that the trending topics were Trumpgate, Obamagate, Bridgegate, water. And I'm just like, I don't have the energy for this.
Nope.
Click. And I did not come back the whole day.
No, that is pretty stressful.
Yeah. I
can't do it anymore, man.
No.
I can't keep this up.
Oh,
I just want to move into like a trailer in the desert.
Yeah, that's my idea.
Grow my own weed and have people bring us groceries or something.
That's a good plan. I like that
That's
plan.
my plan. We're going to have like that's my retirement plan. We're going to get an artesian well. We'll generate our own power with solar panels, get off the grid, and we'll ignore the rest of the world because the rest of the world sucks.
That works for me. I dig that plan. Well, Mags, Claudia, this has been absolutely awesome talking to the both of you. I am very much looking forward to reading the rest of Lost on Planet Earth, which you can read only on ComiXology. So download it, sign up. It's $6 a month. You get like 25,000 titles to choose from. Stuff from like the big names, the indies, manga, anything you could think of, find it there. Before we go there, where do folks go to find you online, learn more about you? Throw it all out there.
I'm on Twitter intermittently now at Mags Visaggio. That's really the only place.
I'm just Claudia Aguirre with 1 A and 2 R's because it's Basque. Everywhere. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, whatever.
This is Angelina Singer, author of the Upper World series, and you're listening to Citywide Blackout, the best podcast for independent artists.
All right, folks, that brings the episode to a close. You can follow the show on Facebook under Citywide Blackout, Twitter, Instagram under Citywide Max, and listen to the show on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every Saturday at 10 p.m. on Boston Free Radio. ComiXology is just $5.99 a month and gives access to over 25,000 digital comics, graphic novels, and manga from DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, and many more, along with some great exclusive discounts. Check it out at ComiXology.com. That's ComiXology.com.